This is the District Sentinel radio show, coming to you from Washington, D.C. Check out the website, districtsentinel.com. I'm Sam Sachs.
I'm Sam Knight. Again, I forgot to turn down the volume on my laptop, but it's okay. I got it now.
It's okay. We got it. I doubt the audience heard it that time. You caught it real fast. Another week in Piss Town. Hello, pals.
It's overcast in Piss Town today.
Yes.
Getting a little of rain, or God's piss, as I like to call it.
God's cold piss.
All right, enough of that. We some top of the show banter here. There was a CNN poll released.
I like how you have to specify that this is top of the show banter. It's like our own personal notes, like show notes. Like you just put it all out there. This is our top of the show banter segment.
I'm just saying, like, sometimes it's good to lay out what's going on.
Yeah.
Just to
what's going on?
Just to get people.
What do you
ready.
got?
Okay, Biden front runner in a CNN poll. That's what I wanted to bring up.
Ugh.
It's pretty grim. And there was a tweet that really summed up the story for me by at Lemon de Vivant. I need to do a Jeff Foxworthy impression to read this. If you're hoping for young women angry about Brett Kavanaugh to turn out excitedly for your candidate, but also think Joe Biden is your best chance, you might be a Democrat. You might be a Democrat.
That is a good tweet.
That's yeah. I know polling this early out in a presidential.
What do you mean
race,
this early out? We're 3 weeks from the start of this thing.
But they were releasing Republican the polls on the Republican frontrunner at this time in the 2016 cycle. I don't think they lasted too long.
Yeah, but
Ben Carson.
As soon as
there.
Trump entered the race, he was ahead.
It was after Trump. I think it was after Trump.
Oh, did Carson have his time in the sun?
Well, actually, no. I guess at this point it would be 2014 in the cycle. So I guess Trump wasn't in the race at that point officially. So I guess you're right.
Anyway, we've got Elizabeth Warren seeming to make it clear that she's running, releasing a video and DNA test results. Oof. To prove that she is Native American or Cherokee, to rebut the president, who claims that she's not and calls her Pocahontas.
So
newsflash: it hasn't worked. It hasn't put away. It hasn't shut up anybody who've doubted her ancestry.
I think it was really clumsy. I think trying to engage with, as other people have said, trying to engage with the president on this level, never good. It seems that Warren wanted to hang him on his own words, so to speak, because he said he would donate $1 million if she could prove she had Indian ancestry, American Indian ancestry.
Yeah.
And surprise, the money's not coming.
No, the money's not coming. And I'm not sure about, like, as a rule, don't respond to these sort of things. I've seen a lot of people equate this to, like, John Kerry not responding to the Swift boat attacks and him just losing as a result. President Obama eventually responded to the birther stuff when the administration released the birth certificate, and it did sort of quiet Trump for a bit and quiet a lot of the birther stuff. You're still going to have the fringe right cling to their conspiracies, but this seemed to also offend a lot of Native Americans who see it as Elizabeth Warren linking identity to DNA.
Yeah.
Which isn't exactly how a lot of Native Americans view it. So she seems to have botched this altogether. Like, the goal of getting Trump to, give $1 million is not going to happen. The goal of getting conservative media to stop calling her Pocahontas or doubting her ancestry, it's only gotten worse. And she's pissed a lot of Native Americans off. So if this is her big step toward running, clearing or making the plans to run,
yeah,
she's not off to a good start.
I cannot help but tie this to a headline I saw a few weeks ago about Warren hiring a former Hillary Clinton policy staffer. I could be wrong. I'm willing to be wrong on this. This was very clumsy. I guess she thought she had to do it based on what her record and what Trump said about her, but yeah, very very clumsy, very not good.
Not good. Update on a story.
I don't think it will matter though.
Yeah, I don't think it'll matter either.
In a few days, people will forget about this.
3 weeks from the great battle, 2020, and there's going to be so much shit slinging that this is going to look like nothing.
Which is kind of sad because it's kind of it's not a non-serious issue.
Yeah,
it's a serious issue.
It's the president using racism as a political attack.
And Elizabeth Warren, maybe not the most sterling record here herself.
All right.
So let's move on. Yeah, let's move on.
All right. Just a quick update on a story we brought you last week about the F-35s all being grounded. They're back up in the air. 80% of them cleared to fly again, at least until it rains. Gonna get to some haikus here.
How does it do in the snow, by the way?
I don't even want to know. I don't know.
Winter.
Not good.
I'd like to see some of those Game of Thrones "Winter is Coming" memes, but about the F-35.
And when the sun gets too hot and it's shining too bright, you got to ground that fucking thing. All right.
Is there like a Facebook page for F-35 mechanics where they all get together and complain and share memes?
I hope so. It's Monday, October 15th, 2018. Here's the news. Despite President Trump's constant needling of his attorney general, the two men are in lockstep agreement on the importance of protecting bad cops. On Friday, Attorney General Jeff Sessions filed a statement of interest with a court in Chicago to prevent the city from imposing a consent decree on its police force, mandating a number of reforms, stuff like improving officer training and accountability, and logging each time an officer does something like pointing his gun or her gun at someone. The reforms came following a report in the waning days of the Obama administration that showed rampant abuse of power within the Chicago Police Department. Cops engaged in systemic civil rights abuses, racial bias, and excessive force. I believe this is something we reported back in January of last year. Sessions said of the pending reforms, quote, "This sweeping proposed consent decree is not the right vehicle for the city of Chicago right now as the city's law enforcement professionals seek to combat a historic violent crime wave." Yes, by being extremely violent and racist themselves. Consent decrees requiring corrupt police officers to put in place reforms were a regular occurrence toward the end of the Obama administration. Trump's Justice Department, however, under the leadership of one Jeff Sessions, has worked hard to erase that work and undo any pending reforms.
Today, the Supreme Court released a new series of orders. Among them is a decision finalizing a $400 million fine for companies that used to make lead paint. The penalty was issued by a California judge after a 6-week bench trial. It was upheld in November by a state appellate court. The corporate offenders are Sherwin-Williams and ConAgra. NL Industries, a third company found liable, has already settled. Now, believe it or not, lawyers for Sherwin-Williams had argued that the verdict violates extremely Republican voice, their free speech rights. Their argument is backed up by the corporate lobbyists at U.S. Chamber of Commerce, or was backed up by corporate lobbyists at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce in a friend of the court brief. Sherwin-Williams said it was only being held liable under California law because of, quote, century-old commercial speech promoting lawful product for sale and its decades-old participation in a trade association. Now, lawyers for California countered that the company was actually liable because it sold lead paint for decades while being aware that it caused irreversible brain damage, particularly among kids. Quote, petitioners' liability rested on proof of their conduct, not speech, conduct in manufacturing and selling lead paint, coupled with their misleading promotion of lead paint as safe despite contemporaneous actual undisclosed knowledge of its deadly nature. So we've heard a lot about conservative jurists weaponizing the First Amendment to advance the interest of the corporate elite, and it's pleasantly surprising, I must say, that the Roberts Court with Brett Kavanaugh on the bench did not decide to hear this case. It's a little bit of a silver lining in this hell world. As the LA Times noted in its report on the decision, business lawyers are afraid this means various industries could be held liable for a range of things they're responsible for, quote, including the opioid crisis and climate change. Why weren't they already afraid of this liability?
It's a good-ass question. All right. Time for our customary break in the newscast to read some poetry to all the new subscribers on Patreon, patreon.com/District Sentinel. Here come some haikus. This one goes out to my cousin Nathan. Come down to Beantown, go shopping on Lima Street, ride the kidney bus.
Thank you, Nathan. This is for Ryan. Wooden table planks accumulate crud quickly when I'm sitting there.
I can attest to that. Thank you, Ryan. This one's for Derek. Try pairing a steak with a cold Dr. Pepper the way it should be.
Thank you, Derek. Although some of us prefer Mr. Pibb.
To each his own.
Hard to find these days, the old Pibb. Moving on, this is for Amy. Fortune favors bold. The pie on the windowsill? Grab that tasty pie.
Thank you, Amy. This is for Keith. Hurricane Michael destroyed some F-22s. Gritty would be proud.
Thank you, Keith, and thank you, Comrade Hurricane Michael. Finally, this is for Ashley. I'm an ice chewer. At it since I was a kid. Still a damn weirdo.
Thank you, Ashley. And thanks to all the new subscribers on the old Patreon. Good news. We've got one more day of backlog to get through. And then the backlog is over. We'll be reading and writing haikus as people subscribe. Let's carry on with the newscast. Ensuring that domestic fossil fuel barons can get their product out of the United States and on boats to customers in Asia may soon become a job of the United States military. In an interview with the Associated Press published today, Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke said the administration was considering a plan to use West Coast military bases as shipping ports for coal and natural gas exports. The plan comes in response to several West Coast states, including California, Washington, and Oregon, rejecting the construction of new fossil fuel ports.
Now, to be fair, this is better than U.S. soldiers literally dying in foreign wars for energy.
That's true.
I would rather just outsource the U.S. Army directly to industrialists than, like, kill a bunch of people.
Yes, we can, I guess, consider this as a lesser of two evils.
Progress, not perfection.
Zinke claimed the government is justified in using federal facilities like military bases to circumvent local wishes. He told the AP, quote, I respect the state of Washington and Oregon and California, but also it's in our interest for national security and in our allies to make sure that they have access to affordable energy in commodities. Yes, national security issue here. It's in our national security interest that the Koch brothers don't lose a single customer in Asia because of a bunch of hippy-dippy libs in Sacramento. One military base that was mentioned as under consideration, it's a now shuttered one, the Adak Naval Facility on the Aleutian Islands in Alaska. You know, if you're starting to think that using the U.S. military to boost profits of oil companies sounds familiar, well, it should sound familiar. If you think it's an idea that likely came from someone named Cheney, you'd be right. This time it was Dick's daughter, Liz. The AP reported that Liz Cheney congresswoman, brought up the idea of using military bases as export hubs with Energy Secretary Rick Perry, and the two regularly discuss it. God, sometimes I forget that there's still a Cheney in power.
Well, again, a slight improvement from from her dad's solutions in terms of gifts to energy companies.
Yes.
Finally, the House Speaker is hitting the campaign trail. Paul Ryan is stumping for Republican midterm candidates across the country starting today. That's according to an exclusive in USA Today, the newspaper found almost exclusively in hotel lobbies across the country. Quote, Ryan's travel plan, shared exclusively with USA Today, has the speaker visiting a dozen states over the next 3 weeks, from New York to Kansas to North Carolina, including stops in between. The paper noted that Ryan's tour will end up in his home state of Wisconsin. Now, all in all, Ryan is campaigning for 25 candidates. Democrats need to flip 23 seats to win control of the House. And one of those is the seat being vacated by Ryan himself. Well, not one of them that they need, but one that they have their eyes on is the seat being vacated by Ryan. Could be won by Randy Bryce, the Democrat who used to be an iron worker, excuse me.
The guy who goes by Iron Stash
on Twitter. Yeah. Ryan announced in April he would not seek re-election. Now, it'll be interesting to see how the candidates that Ryan stumps for end up doing because, well, according to public opinion data, Ryan is very unpopular. Gallup showed him crossing into net negative favorability in early 2017, and Huffington Post has his favorability rating right now at a net negative of 19.4%. So that means if you ask Americans what they think of Paul Ryan, the preponderance of Americans have an overwhelming negative opinion of Paul Ryan. Negative 20%. Same. No doubt reflective of his brand as an Ayn Rand worshipping dweeb who has never left Washington, basically.
All right, that'll do it for the newscast today. Nobody on the listener rant line.
Okay, so I have some bad news.
What's that?
According to the chat, our stream has been choppy all day, and people have given up on watching.
Damn.
Yeah, let me... some people were saying that we are basically like the F-35. Yeah, Bobby says the Sam's ISP is an F-35.
I'll tell you what, if they give us just a 1/100th of the price that has been spent on the F-35, we'll have streaming fast internet. I promise.
Kevin says the Sentinel internet is powered by Internet running in a giant hamster wheel. Luke says we should all go fund me their internet service. Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
Why not?
Encourage your friends to subscribe on Patreon. We'll get a more powerful router.
Nathan says, are any of you guys going to PissCon 2018? Okay. So moving away from internet-related commentary, Kevin says he was once in an IRC channel that was super neoliberal. There were the kind of dudes who described themselves as proud neolibs, and they were really into the F-35. Like, if you made fun of the F-35, they'd go, all caps, actually, it's the most cost-efficient way of upgrading our fleet. Krills Wilson says, God's piss is stored in God's balls. This was with reference to the rain earlier today. Nathan also says, who would win in a fight, Blade or Harry Potter? I'm trying to settle a bet. David says Blade.
Blade, 100% easy. Blade would just slice up Harry Potter.
David says, but if you ask Blade versus Hermione, it would be Hermione.
I don't, yeah.
Nathan says, I said Blade too. I think Blade would probably win against the entire Harry Potter universe.
Yeah, I would hope so. I've never really delved into the Harry Potter universe. I've never read any of the books or seen any of the movies, but I have seen a lot of the Blade movies, at least 2 of the 3. Are there 3 of them? And Blade kicks ass, 100%.
Shall we end the show?
We're ending the show right here. Sorry for the choppiness. We'll see if we'll see if we can improve it for tomorrow's show. Maybe I'll move the router closer. I don't know. We'll figure it out. If anybody has any ideas or tips,
I'm thinking maybe a super long cord that maybe we can use to avoid the whole wireless situation. I think wirelessness has a long way to go.
Maybe. All right, call the rant line 202-684-6108. Thanks to our sponsors, the Congressional Dish podcast hosted by Jen Briney. Find it at congressionaldish.com. Another sponsor, levelnews.org. The newscast returns tomorrow. We're here in D.C. so that you don't have to be.